So today we are looking at Team 2 of the Shapeshifters, and we are pretty much 1 week or a couple of players away from our very first 98 rated team. So that will be coming in the near future, but we do have a stunning variety of players. Just looking at all of them here, from the kind of newest players, we've got some absolutely stunners. We have got two very good evolutions in two very different ways. One of them going to be the Footies Countdown. I like it. I don't like the timing of it. It does take 21 days to get yourselves a 98 rated SB evolution. Is what it is as such. But then we do have obviously the lovely Yashin evolution. Or obviously Cech. Depends on who you've chosen. Obviously they're going to take up quite a lot of here. But naturally you've got two different players that you could put into here. And you do get a 98 rated cam. Now, when it comes to both of these evolutions, 400k, 500k, very expensive. Now, obviously, there is players left, right, and centre as well. Two of the main ones that are going to be thrown in here is going to be our boy Cruyff and also Ronaldinho. Now, both of these are 5 Playstyle Pluses. That's right, we are getting into the 5th Playstyle Pluses already, which is absolutely incredible. Ronaldinho, just as like a passing mention, he hasn't got a Trickster, which is incredible from the Shapeshifter, just because it gives him so much more range. Now, he didn't get the quick step or anything like that. We've got the finesse, the low driven, which is good enough for any sort of shooter. First touch, tiki-taka, and technical. Honestly, I'm okay with it. This, realistically, I'm assuming, I don't know whether they will go for the 99s. It depends on how they want to do footies, especially because a lot of icons do get into footies as well. They normally do 6 to 7 teams of icons, heroes, and players. I'd imagine they'd go through them all again. So whether this is going to be the final Ronaldinho or if everybody will eventually get a 99, it will be interesting to say the least. But obviously with this one, he is going to be incredible. Cruyff is exactly the same. Finesse, technical, rapid, incisive, and also the tiki-taka. I mean, if he got the low driven instead of the technical, would have been absolutely perfect. But regardless, he can play left wing, right wing. He obviously can play anywhere up front if you really wanted him to. And he will always have the absolute best ability in mind. When we do look at some of the others, we have got the SBC of Butra. Now, with him, I feel like he's kind of just ready for an evolution already. 94 rated, double playstyle plus. I just don't quite get him, to be honest. Now, obviously, he can go into a few different of the Evos. You can get him into El Brute, which will get him into a 98, which is going to be incredible in itself. 300,000 coins, so that's kind of be really what you have to do. Now, you're already putting 94,000, so you're already putting X amount of coins into him to then put another 300,000 into him. It might be worth it in terms of getting him to that 98, but he's not necessarily a proven record. I would have to... So if you're looking for coins, check in the description for El Dorado. Depending on the coin amount that you're looking for, the delivery time is displayed on the website, and you'll see lots of different trusted sellers with reviews on specifics and also the ability to be able to pick who you want. It will also show how much they have in stock, and obviously you can see that they are verified members. There is 100% refund ability and also 24/7 support if you need any questions with your coin needs. Also, if you head over to Trustpilot as well, you can see over 30,000 upvotes for them. You can see how reliable they are. Obviously great feedback across the entire board with El Dorado. So when on checkout, make sure you are using the code JT11 for 5% off your order every time. Discount code JT11. Now let's get back to the video. Rate him more on this version than I would necessarily in his centre mid. I think with the low driven, the quick step, the pinged pass and incisive, he's gonna be up there as a 98. As a 94, I mean, very usable comes to mind, but if I'm kind of considering him as a 98, he's going to be up there for the moment. We're going to get into footies and all this will change, but at the moment, he's got to be up in that top category. Now, obviously, if we do look a bit further afield, we've got Gerrard as a right wing. Now, this is one of them moments where, in terms of the card itself, they've given him a pretty good upgrade. Rapid, technical, low driven, and incisive. It's not bad playstyle pluses. It may not be the best, but there's a reason why it's 54k already. Not only that, he just isn't the body type for it. He just can't, it doesn't work. Sometimes players will work really well in certain scenarios, and as a right wing, Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, they just don't work. Now, obviously, you can put him striker, you can put him cam, and I do think he works in all of them positions, but he's so much better as that centre mid. He just works a lot better in my opinion. And I think at the moment you would get usability out of him, but you wouldn't necessarily get a crazy amount from him. Which leads us on to a bit of Bobby Charlton. Now he's obviously a 96, they can't make them all 97s and 98s, but we've got 170 from him. Quadruple playstyle plus, we're starting to really get into there now, which is always nice. Incisive, pinged, long ball and intercept, very good playstyles. He is coming in more of the centre mid variety, and he did have a future star way back when with a little bit less on the defending, 42 to be exact. It's a good upgrade card for him. He's kind of still in that role of kind of your box-to-box centre mid that can shoot, but it's not necessarily got the massive emphasis on him. Now, if you was to wait for him to get the 5 playstyle pluses, like I say, if he doesn't get a footies up to a 98, 99 with 5 playstyle pluses, he could be a really nice one that you could throw in as an Evo in the future, but that's going to be a while because 96s are definitely not on that horizon anytime soon. We also then have the standard team, which is always going to be full of some more fodder options more than anything. There is some great options going across, but when you look at the keeper, realistically it's 6 foot, it's not happening. Almiron, as much as a left back with quick step, slide tackles, nice, there's not much going with these 12 and 20Ks. Maybe Nuno Tavares, but even then, the amount of fullbacks we've got, we're being realistic. The fodder players are fodder players for a reason. You could say all of them could be usable, but if you're an elite division, you can make anybody semi-usable. So I'd probably miss out on a lot of the kind of lower end more so than anything, just because there is no point for them really. They are kind of just bog standard. They're going to go into your 89 exchange, and that's really all they're going to do. They're not really going to sit anywhere else, in my opinion. So let's just whack them all in there and kind of go with some of the players on the actual first team. I think that's most of them. But if we do go up, and we'll go to the first name here, we've got Hernandez finally getting an upgrade. Now, he can play CDM and he can play centre-back. So there isn't any left-back at the moment. Again, that could be a future Evo. So don't count the chickens just yet because he's got some great playstyle pluses. Anticipate, block, bruiser, pinged pass. Even as a CDM, he will definitely mix very, very nicely into that CDM role if you do have a left back that does replace him as such. My Evo at 89 kind of will just keep going up, but that is a pretty fantastic upgrade for him. I think it puts him in a very good lifeline of a CDM in my opinion anyway. So he's definitely going to be one that I would be looking at. We then have the likes of Hazard. Now another fantastic option. He's finally got himself another upgrade, and to be honest, they did pretty well with him. I'm surprised that they didn't give more heroes, 5 playstyle pluses. They gave a few quadruples, which is nice, but we didn't really see any quintuplets? I don't know, 5 playstyle pluses. We didn't see any of them, which is a bit of a shame. Whether we see them next week and then they'll go in full force in footies, which was obvious anyway, it will always be quite interesting to see. Now, we do think we've got Hazard, we've got Schneider, we've got Elwaran. So obviously with Elwaran, pretty much pace. As a left back, I'm not too excited. There's a left mid potential, but I need a bit more shooting from him. So again, it would be just more of a name if I was being anything. And Schneider, to be fair, he can go into that striking role. He's like Gerrard, he's not built for the kind of right wing. I think he's probably a bit better on a right wing than Gerrard, but you could even potentially just go with a kind of a striker and put him as like a false 9, and it would work just as good as it can for him. So I do think with Schneider, like Gerrard, there's a bit more usability in him, but there would be very similar. Elwaran, you'd go with more of the name. I think it's a bit unfair with these, but I mean, it would be the name more so than anything. Realistically, you'd be looking at kind of the bottom end more so than anything. You can't even put him in an Evo, to be honest, because there is just none of that. And then obviously Hazard would definitely put himself up there for at least 1 or 2 weeks at the minimum. And then once we get more players in them striking roles, he'll just drop down as natural. We've got very few players with a quadruple playstyle plus, so when they do happen, they do mean a pretty big deal. Now, the question is where does Cech and Yashin go? Now, both of them are pretty similar in their aspects. Stats-wise, are pretty much the same. They are. You've obviously got the same quadruple playstyle plus. You've got the finesse, the aerial, the tiki-taka, and the rapid. Very good. Love it. Now, obviously, a lot of people were mentioning that we don't get controlled lengthy from Cech, which will make a massive difference for him in comparison if you're thinking what he was like in that previous few years. That was kind of the upgrade of a century for him. Whereas this one will still be good. He is still my option over Yashin, but I do think both of them come in as just a solid option for a striker. I don't know if I'd quite say they would break the striking role. I think they'd just be very usable in their aspects. I think there's better out there for them. So if I'm being really, really honest with it, I would go into the very usable. I think Cech could have had the argument if he had that controlled lengthy. I know that Yashin has it, but the height difference is absolutely massive for Cech, and I think both of them would put themselves in this sort of category. Which leaves us back with some of the players from the Shapeshifters. So if we kind of go over a few, we obviously have the likes of Rodri as another 98s. We did pretty much just need like one or two more centre-back 98s. I think it's a 98 centre-back or a 98 CDM or a centre-mid. And we are pretty much at that 98 rated team. And Rodri putting in a shift here. Pinged pass, obviously can play either fullback role, can play centre-back. Whether we see an evolution for him for a CDM or if we ever see a 99 Rodri for a Footers edition, could always be interested, but he obviously puts himself up there. He's a great centre-back. CDMs like him will always be good centre-backs as well, because he is predominantly more based around that defending physical. He's based around having the ball at his feet, being able to win the ball back, rather than the clear just pace abuse. So he does work really well in that centre-back role. One that I was interested in, and I'm kind of still seeing it, I really wanted him as more of a striker. I loved his team of the season. I think that card was phenomenal. Into the centre mid, technical, incisive, pinged and ticky. It's okay. I mean, it's an okay card more so than anything. He is going to come in predominantly based on a name more so than anything. Cech would go into the bottom. One that I was a little bit disappointed with is Valverde. I mean, he's very similar to the likes of a Isaac, where I do like him more as a centre mid. I liked his 95. I didn't think it was terrible. He definitely went down into fodder pretty quickly, and they've given him the quadruple, which still puts him up there as a striker. Like it's kind of like the Cech and Yashin. For the moment, it's a great novelty to have, but it will die down very quickly. It's bound to. We then also have Hernandez into the CDM role. I'm not too sure, to be honest. I've been very hit and miss with her cards recently. Long ball, pinged pass, press proven, incisive, standard sort of cam role. I mean, she's going to be okay. I'd probably even say as far to say as maybe miss, but I'd be very lenient to go into that very usable aspect. We then also have the likes of Saka, who's always going to be incredible in himself. He's now got himself a 97 cam, which does suit Saka down to the ground. Now, whether I'd put him in the top of the top, 4-star, 5-star, ticky, incisive, technical, finesse, could have been a rapid or something along them lines, and it could have been really good. A quick step with that finesse in the striking role could have been fantastic. He can play left back as well, which I think is a nice homage to where he used to play. I'd go very usable quite easily. We do have Gakpo as well coming in as the centre mid. It's almost like all the strikers are either centre mids or centre backs. It's funny how they don't really change too many variants there. We're obviously looking at Gakpo's coming in as an objective. He comes in with the technical, the incisive, the long ball, and the intercept. Solid. I mean, 5'5", he's coming in decent. I don't know if I'd quite go into the top meta, but I'd definitely give him a run out. Traore would go into that usable. Mary Earps possibly could have some use being out of goal, to be honest. I think height-wise really matters, and I think you could definitely get a bit out of her in this. Finesse, power, low-driven, and incisive. A solid cam, 5'8". I mean, you'd give herself a run for your money. I think as a cheap beast, there is a potential. I'd possibly go into more of the kind of higher levels of a usability here, more so than the very usable, but most definitely for 40k, you've got yourself a bit of a steal. Now, one that I wasn't too sure of, I thought it was a bit clunky. They did him nice with, obviously, the actual upgrade. The Playstyle Pluses are nice. The SBC's semi-decent value. I wasn't too sure, to be honest. I think for me, just from what I kind of found out with him, I didn't really like him that much, and you might have a different opinion. I think he was kind of just bog standard. Looked nice on paper, but in game was a little bit struggling. McTominay, McSauce, coming in as the 98. I never thought I'd see him as a 98 before most of the players. So that is incredible in himself. He's coming in as the striker, left wing, right wing. Obviously with some great playstyle pluses. He puts himself up there. He really does. 98, not quite into the top of the top, but definitely up amongst the stars. And we got the same for Martinez. I think most strikers like Martinez, it just doesn't work as a centre mid. You might be able to get a bit of usability out of him, kind of like your Isaac and your Valverde. They're okay because of the name, the quadruple playstyle plus. But realistically, the moment that we get a decent centre mid on the go, they're going to be thrown out. Then we have Putellas. As a striker, right wing or right mid, she obviously has got the rapid first touch, low driven finesse. One of the better players in the game. It's quite a simple one for me. She will be the last one that does go on that top meta. And that is Shapeshifters Team 2. Comment down below. Peace.